All right, we're back, folks. We're continuing our conversation here around strategy done right, taking a look at some of the best practices, what I consider the best practices to be in strategic assessment analysis, if you will. Right now, we're just focused on the external assessment. I consider the external assessment probably the most important because strategy is about how are we going to compete in the marketplace, right? We need to understand how we're going to compete in that marketplace. And if we're not doing an assessment of that marketplace on a grander scale, we're just setting goals and targets and we're just hoping for the best. We're trying to have a disciplined and data driven approach. So let's recap here real quick where we've been. Okay, so let me come back to this. Where is this, right? So here, what have we done so far, right? We're talking about this strategic assessment. Well, we actually have done more than this, right? We did the Porter's five. We did the pestle analysis. Why did we do a pestle analysis? Because it's important to understand the macro environment that we're in. And remember, in my how I do this, I'm doing a 5 year look ahead. What does the world look like in 5 years? I'm not trying to create today's software package based on the existing software packages. I'm looking at something into the future. I'm not creating a product or service that's going to basically satisfy the needs today when I know things are changing so quickly. So here we did a pestle analysis, which stands for the political, economic, societal, technology, legal, and environmental issues. Remember, in the day when we used to do harder core scenario planning, and I always come back to, I probably only know 5 people that have actually done a scenario planning assessment, which I think is the most critical. But we're doing this. We're going to use these elements to help us look ahead. We did the Porter's 5 forces model to try to understand what our marketplace looks like. What are the barriers to entry, the bargaining powers of the suppliers and the buyers, the intensity of the intensity of rivalry. That's all interesting to understand, especially if we're doing a look ahead. Um, we're not doing the VUCA analysis, and we're not going to do a scamper analysis. I have a separate scamper analysis that's built into this. This was typically a tool used in problem solving. And I found that by interjecting this scamper analysis into my methodology, it made it much more robust. As a matter of fact, when I took my strategy model, this model that we have here, and I put it into ChatGPT, Perplexity, Llama, DeepSeek. I'm a huge fan of DeepSeek once they get stable. It says, they said my results are about 23% better on finding niches and things like that. Hadn't I done this right? And they consider it a best practice. We did a segmentation and we did market research. We're going to recap that real quick, right? What does that marketplace look like? We were looking 5 year look ahead. Segmentation and psychographics. What does our customer look like? What are they evolving to? If you take a quick look, we're going to take a look at my segmentation analysis. It's nothing like what you've seen. Well, you got a demographic and they like this. My how I do this segmentation and psychographics is very detailed. Today, we're going to concentrate on doing scenario planning. And that scenario planning is a really interesting concept. So most people, I know people say, yeah, I've done this 1,000 times. Okay, I get it. I'll give you that. Even though I forget it, I'm going to give you that, right? So scenario planning is creating different stories or different scenarios about how we think the future might be. It forces us to think differently. So for instance, in the US here, you might have one scenario since we have a new president, and that scenario based on how you like that person is going to be one way or another, right? So what we're trying to do, and what I try to have my bot do, is come up with 4 to 5 different potential scenarios. And I will tell you, in the past, this was hard to do. And that's why a lot of people didn't do scenario planning analysis, because just think about it. If we're trying to anticipate the future and then use that to inform the strategy that we're going to be, what does it take to anticipate that future? What are the resources that we need? And I can tell you, one large organization, we spent tens of thousands of dollars to do a scenario, maybe $100,000 actually to do this, because we brought in futurists. What does the future look like? We brought in economists. What does the economy look like? It wasn't as easy to do as it is now. We brought in health experts. What does the global world look like? We brought in political experts. What is the political climate going to look like? And we were doing a 20-year look ahead, right? We brought in sociologists. What does society look like? What are we going to see? I could remember the scenario was there's going to be a mass migration out of Africa, going east, and then going through the Middle East, and then up and around into the European nations, right? And with that was going to bring famine and disease associated with that, right? So we're thinking, so we had technologists coming in. What will the technology look like? What's going to be the legal environment? What does the legal environment look like? Is the UN taking over? And then what are the environmental concerns? And that environmental concerns also had to do with crops and weather and food and things like that. So you can see that when I say that only a handful of people probably really have done that, you can see the intensity of the work that needs to be done. Now, with these large language models and so much data in there, you can program it. I need a specialist that's going to look at this. I need a specialist that's going to look at this. And what does that future space look like? So I'm trying to set this up for you so you could understand that a scenario planning was very difficult and time consuming to do. And that's why I say I only know of a handful of people that have been fortunate enough to actually do it. But I think it's the most critical component of strategic planning now, right? Because you need to force yourself and have these models think about alternative future scenarios, and then you get to pick and choose which one you want, and then you can modify it as you go forward. So having this is a critical element if you're going to be a strategist. Now, I would say, I always, I tongue in cheek saying, yeah, everyone says they're strategists, but no one's really done all this work, right? Most people are really good at goal setting. That's all important, and alignment. I'm doing, how are we going to compete in the world ahead of us? And that is the emphasis that I'm using today. So for our example here, we're going to continue this case study. We said the all-in-one digital marketing platforms. What does the future hold for them, right? We've already done our pestle analysis. We've already done our Porter's 5 forces analysis, so we understand what the macro conditions are going to be like. Now we understand as well, using that 5 forces model, how easy it is to be in this business, right? It's given us an idea. How easy is it to get in and out of? What does the competition look like? Who can hold me over a barrel or maybe not hold me over a barrel? We did a market analysis. We had it go out and do a market analysis, and then the customer segmentation, right? So I've taken that data as we've been doing it in this case study, and I dropped it into a Google Doc. Let me just share that Google Doc with you, and we're going to look at aspects of this. So give me a second. Let me open up that Google Doc here. Let me close this out, right? So you see here we have the Porter's 5 forces. We have the pestle. We have the ultimate market research, the demographics. So let's come down. So let's just go back and take a quick look. So this document is over 40 pages long. I can take this document, which we're aggregating, right? I keep adding to it, and we can run it through any of the large language models, copy and paste it in, and say, give me a report or a summary of our findings to date, and it will do so. So here you can see it gave us detailed understanding of what we expect the political climate to be for this particular industry, right? And this industry is the all-in-one digital marketing platforms. And hey, I'm thankful. One of the larger digital marketing platforms, some of the people from that organization have been dialing in and asking questions privately of me. So we took a look at what does the political climate look like, and we know that this right here is a big deal. These two are huge deals coming up in the future, and as a matter of fact, all the large language models called out California as being problematic, right? With advancing some crazy data restrictions, right? What does the economy look like, right? So we're saying, what does the economy look like in the future, right? There's going to be some growth and stability it's predicting. And again, you can overwrite this. You might say, you know what? Based on what's happened in the past 2 weeks, I don't think so. But I will tell you, I was thinking about this with how so many government agencies are being shut down, and those people have a skill that's unique to that government, that job. It's not really transferable for the most part to the commercial industry. I think they'll probably try to go into e-commerce businesses. So that might be a boom for the e-commerce and coaching learning business. What does the spending habits look like? Here are the societal factors changing consumer behaviors, data literacy and technology adoption, wherever you are, right? People are going to be more data, data driven, and there's going to be this huge social media and influencer culture, right? Who are going to be the influencers in your industry to help get the word out, or in this industry? Privacy concerns again, and trust, and then these generational differences. How can we have a very graying population at the same time we have a younger population coming in? Who do we market to? Who do we niche to? Do we try to satisfy all of them? Do we set up different websites for them to go to? So as we continue, we can go through and see this assessment. And then we did this Porter's 5 forces analysis, right? This is to help us understand, how easy is it to play in this sandbox, right? This digital marketing platform area, is it an easy game to get into, or is it a hard game? So it says threat of new entrants. It says capital requirements, but here it says, however, in the near future, with this open source and AI frameworks, these barriers are going to be greatly diminished. So this might be something that's easy to get into. Patent and intellectual algorithms. Now, we know, because we did a look ahead, right? AI and automation is going to be huge here. So are there going to be patented algorithms to create sales funnels and email funnels and analytics, customer loyalty? So we've taken a look at this, and the bargaining power suppliers and so on. Let's take a look at the market research, right? And again, remember, I told you this is, let me see how many pages. I want to get an idea of, and we're not even, if we were working together on this, it's well over 40 pages long, almost 50 pages long. So digital transformation, we're seeing many small businesses adopt this technology quickly. What are they looking for, right? They're looking for cost effectiveness, centralized data, scalability, integration, right, across this, and easy to use interfaces. Trend 2, artificial intelligence and analytics. In all the data we're looking at so far, if your platform, your digital marketing platform, doesn't have the ability to use artificial intelligence and integrate AI, it's going to be hampering your business quite a bit, right? So we have increased data availability. Machine learning's easy to do. Yep, we have 48 pages, right? So then increased personalization, automation, and ROI. Omni-channel marketing strategies, right? We need to have some of those strategies out there. How are we going to cover and reach these client base? Again, customer personalization, that is coming through. Integrated customer databases, behavioral segmentation, understanding how these clients behave, right? If we send out an email, we know, right? Everyone knows if you open up an email, whoever sent it to you, if it's a marketing company, they know you opened it up, and then they're going to start tracking you through that system, right? They can tell if you went into a funnel and tried buying something and then dropped out. Now, with the advances of machine learning and tracking, we're going to be able to correlate that. We're going to be able to find where you're hidden. We might have a different product offering to see if you bite on that, and it's going to give us a better understanding of who you are and how you behave. Data privacy, huge things, right? So again, look at this. California comes up, right? We didn't even put California in here, but there's huge data concerns around that. And then here we did, you know, who is the test, that customer segment? What segments of people, right? This is what we're really interested in. We came up with 5 segments. Who are we going to market to, right? Entrepreneurs and small business owners. Here we have a little bit of demographics, and this is probably what most of you would probably do. If you're just like putting something in Chat GPT, you're going to get this. Remember, my prompts are like 3,000 words. I'm maxing out what I can put in my prompts here. So here's a demographic profile of this particular market you might want to pursue, or you might hit many markets, but you're going to have mass customization, right? That's key to each. You might be able to serve all these markets, but the media and marketing messages and emails are going to be customized to this and this group of people. Mid-marketing teams, right? You might have, what do they look like? Digital marketing agencies are looking for these platforms if they're not building their own. And what does that demographics look like? What are they looking for, right? They're looking to be able to, you know, log in and have manage multiple customers in the platform. They want to be able to assign people to work only on a certain client basis and only see that data. And then, of course, we have e-commerce businesses. I think this is going to take off now, especially with everything that's taken place with shutting down all those non-value-added government activities. Those, I think people are going to have to start looking for new careers and things like that. And I think you'll see an influx into these e-commerce businesses, right? And then, of course, you have content creators and influencers. And then here we're looking at that competitive landscape. Who are the competitors? And it even gave us some thoughts, and it did it by geographic area. Now let's look at the demographics, right? We just took a quick snapshot of what those demographics look like. Now we're going to look at those demographics in greater detail, right? So let's go back and take a look. And this is how, if we're working together, we're going to give our client damn good demographics and psychographics data. So here's what we have. We have tech savvy entrepreneurs, a little description of what they are, small business owners seeking growth, right? So these are all potential clients in this, marketing agencies, what they're looking for, and then digital marketing newcomers, right? This might be all those new government employees that just got whacked from their jobs, right? So, and then you have e-commerce retailers setting up an e-commerce store like Etsy or something like that. But watch this, folks. We go into much greater detail. What you just saw, what the average person's going to give you, right? And remember, we're doing this analysis sequentially because we take all the previous analysis and we're feeding it into the next prompt. We're feeding it to the next prompt, right? So we're building a knowledge base, if you will. So look at how our demographics come out differently. The tech-savvy entrepreneurs gives us an age range. It gives us a better description of what they look like. Gives us an income level, their occupation and education. Maybe they have a family or a family size. What does this look like? So think about if you're trying to target this audience, right? Psychographics. What are their values? They value speed, innovation, efficiency, right? They're very they like to use technology to streamline their operations, right? What is their belief systems? They believe in leveraging digital technologies to disrupt business models, right? They have confidence in technology. They're not going, oh, can't go near DeepSeek. I don't want anyone to know anything about me, right? Their online behavior, again, you typically wouldn't see this. You got to learn, you got to train your prompts. I always want to know, where else are they playing? If I want to find these people, where else are they playing? There might be somewhere else where I could put an ad or engage with these people. Technology proficiency, interest levels, and then what are some of the questions they have about their life? So just think about the demographics that this is just one, right? What is it they want to achieve? Why do they want it so badly, right? What are they currently doing to get what they want, right? How is this approach making their life harder rather than easier? The approach they're currently taking, And then we have another question here. What are the emotional, physical, and financial consequences of not getting what they want, right? So if they don't get it, and This is kind of, we're marketing here. These are digital marketing platforms. They're going to try to pull at your emotions, right? So this is what it looks like. And here's that geographic area. And then here we have an overall assessment, a 300-word description, basically, about these people and what they look like. So a detailed avatar. So I'm sure if you're in doing strategy work, you've probably never seen a customer demographics and psychographics like this. And even if you're a digital marketer, you probably haven't gone to this level to really try to understand and then test this. This may not be right, but we can do all sorts of A/B testing to check it out. So that's where we are today. Right. So right now we've gone through and we've done our pestle analysis. We've done our Porter's 5 forces analysis. In the real world, if we're running this, I have one massive prompt. We do that VUCA analysis that I talked about, and we're building this out. We're taking some shortcuts here. I'm just trying to show and engage with you to understand how you can use AI. Now I'm going to flip over into my app, which is a bot, right? So my bot, it uses AI. You can use ChatGPT. I already have it codified in there. So it's already programmed in there. I know it works well, and it doesn't really time out. So I don't want to copy and paste my code into a different app. I'm just going to open up this app. It runs, you can run any app. So let me open it up. I don't have it open yet. Let me open up another screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to continue this assessment on the all-in-one marketing platform agencies, right? And it's, the big players are Go, High Level, Cartra, ClickFunnels, all these other groups. And I bet you if you went to one of those larger guys and asked them, hey, what does your 5-year roadmap look like? Have you done this analysis? I guarantee you. I don't want to say I guarantee you. I bet you they don't have the amount of information and data right now that we actually have about their industry. I bet you right now you can probably blow them away and say, hey, I think I know your industry a little better than you, and here's why. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share my little strategy bot with you. Let me get my prompt out. We're analyzing this market here. Let me get this. I'm just going to copy and paste what we're doing here. I've already done the full-blown analysis of this industry, and it's really different than what I thought it would be. So let's go in here. We're looking for scenario planning wizard, right? This is, again, you can program this. I can't share all this code with you, right? So I'm dropping in here. Here's what we're doing, right? We're continuing this same analysis. And mind you, I said I have one massive prompt that this runs through. As a matter of fact, the new Chat Pro, the Chat GPT Pro with the research, my prompt is so massive to them when it goes out and does research, it doesn't run. It says we can't run this prompt. So now I have to chunk it out into smaller pieces for it to run. Okay, so here we go. We're going to run a scenario planning wizard. And remember, this scenario planning wizard, folks, or the scenario planning assessment is rarely done because it's so labor intensive to get the right people in the room. And what it's designed to do is create 3, 4, 5 futuristic scenarios that could possibly occur in the future for us to understand and for us to contemplate. Many of us might be blindsided. We might have tunnel vision and only think one way or another. This is going to help open that aperture for us. So here it ran. All right, I'm going to copy and paste this into a Word document for us. So it ran. Let's copy and paste it into a Word document. I made some changes in it to make it smaller. The intensity of it was so large that the average person, if you've never done this before and you saw the output that it generated, you would be like, what the heck is this, right? And it became too much for me to actually have to sit there and describe and share with people. Even people that have said, hey, you know what, I'm a strategy person. I've done this my whole life, yada, yada. But when I gave them the output, it was very, they were like, all right, this looks like hieroglyphics to me. So let's go ahead. I'm going to flip over. We're going to take a look at this document here. It's called Untitled. Done in Chat GPT, folks, right? So again, we did this in Chat GPT very easily, right? It takes you a long time to figure out how to code it and get it the right way. And by the way, if in the code that it used for this, it does a pestle and 5 forces analysis, right? To me, you can't just jump in and do a scenario planning approach without having that data in there. So, so I parsed it out, and here's what we see, right? So it's defining our focus. It's looking at our data, and it's saying what's our strategic objectives here: accelerate product innovation, enhance integration capabilities, strengthen data security and compliance, drive market adoption and scalability, diversify revenue streams. So it's saying, you know what? These are probably based on what we're seeing out there. We did the market analysis. We did the 5 force analysis. This is probably what you should be looking forward, right? And this is a 5-year look ahead, folks. We're doing a 5-year look ahead. So again, it did the pestle analysis. You can't really do a scenario planning isolated. Before I had it isolated, what I did is I copied and pasted it out of my other prompt, and I found that it needed that previous information to be accurate. So this information is similar to what we saw earlier. Again, California, right? run from California. So here's some of the things that it came up with. What you don't see behind the scenes, right? Because I can decide what Chat GPT is going to share, right? So what it has done, it looks for uncertainty factors, and it went out and grabbed a bunch of things that we have that we're uncertain about in the future, and then it prioritizes it. So when we're developing and creating a scenario plan, we're trying to find the most extreme 2 or 3 dimensions that are going to affect us, right? Oh my God, these things are gonna, if these happen, let's figure out what's going to happen. So it says the technology advancements, and it says data privacy and compliance. It's really, really concerned about these two, looking a 5-year look ahead. Now you might say, hey, you know what? I don't believe so. You could rerun this model and say, hey, by the way, we don't believe the data privacy and compliance issues are really going to be a big deal. Give us a different factor, and you can rerun it. It's going to give you a different model. So accelerated. So the 2 things they think we need to be really careful about to stay in business are these accelerated AI integration. And here there's 5. There's actually, it lists 12 things. It does a rank and sort. I'm a rank and sort kind of guy. I'm a data guy. So it's just displaying a handful for us, right? Accelerated AI regulatory environment. And what it's trying to do now, it's creating a 2x2 matrix for us. It's creating, okay, if we look at AI integration, let's look what's the positive side and the negative side. Remember, we're looking to have competing scenarios. And then it said on the secondary axis, we're going to look at the regulatory, positive effect or negative effect. I used to have this 3-dimensional with another dimension, but a lot of people struggled with visualizing this as a 3-dimension, which looked like a cube. So I made it simpler. So what it does, it gives it quadrant names. So now we have a 2x2 matrix, and it's going to create a 4-blocker for us. AI boom with regulatory relief. So high AI advancements with supportive regulation. So what they're saying is AI is going to really take off, and the regulatory burden is not going to be as bad as we thought. AI boom with regulatory gridlock, right? So we're going to have this boom in AI, and then we're going to have this really constricting regulatory framework, what they're talking about in California. And then we can have stalled AI, where AI just slows down to a pace, and then regulatory issues slow down, right? So you might say that's not a realistic scenario. You can go back once the prompt runs. You can go back and say, hey, I want you to redo the scenario. and don't consider a stalled AI. We think AI is actually going to explode more rapidly. And then here again, we have stalled AI and regulatory gridlock. So it's going to create four, I think it's going to create four scenarios for us here. So here it gives us what that scenario looks like. And why is this important? This is saying if the future looks like this, these two things, which they deem critical and uncertain, here is what that scenario looks like. Now it's up to us to say, does this sound right? Does this feel right? Do we think we know better? Do you think you know better? And you might come up with a different scenario. If you believe, for instance, that this is the case, you can start using this to amend to your strategy. Say, okay, folks, our strategy needs to be that we don't think the regulatory issues are going to be as bad as we may have anticipated, but the AI is going to take off. So how do we prepare our business for this? Now here we have another effect here, AI boom and regulatory gridlock, right? So what is that? We have this AI taking off, but what's going to happen in the gridlock? And it's even telling you what to do here. If this were to occur, here's what we're recommending take place in the future. Now, for many of you, let's pause here for 1 second. I want to see if there's any questions in the chat window here. For many of you here, you're going to say, well, everyone for a while that was enamored with this blue ocean strategy stuff, right? And I get it, the blue ocean strategy stuff is incredible. But do you see why we didn't jump to that just yet? I wanted to make sure we had a macro understanding of our industry, that we did a Porter's 5 forces analysis. How easy is it to get in and out of this business, essentially, right? And, are our buyers or our suppliers going to rake us over the coals, right? What does that market look like? The market assessment was actually a 5-year, trying to predict a 5-year look ahead, and who are our customers, right? Now we did the scenario planning. We understand that. It's going to give us a better theme to understand. Now, after this, we'll do a blue ocean strategy, where in that blue ocean strategy, which is a lot of consultants' favorite buzzword, right? We will have a better understanding. We'll have all this data for it to consider as it's looking for these alternatives, right? So let's go back and just take a quick look. What were we looking at here? Let me see. Where were we? We were... data collection live. What was I sharing? Oh, I was sharing. Let me come back here and share the right screen. Yep, that's the right screen. We're looking at this screen. So the AI boom, stalled AI and regulatory relief. What does this marketplace look like? This scenario, stalled AI and regulatory gridlock. And then what I have it do is I have it look for strategic implications, right? So here, for each of the scenarios, I said, for each of these scenarios, what is it, that could happen, right? So we have an opportunity here. Leverage AI innovations for enhanced personalization and efficiency. That is a common theme, right? So if you're in this business or in this industry, and if this is not keeping you up at night, you have good luck, right? It's saying, regardless of the scenario, you need to have this. Expand into segments with advanced analytics and integrations, right? If you're going to compete and have a viable product in this marketplace, you need to have advanced analytics and integrations. These are huge opportunities for you. Make sure you're regulatory compliant, of course. If you can't build everything, look for strategic partners. And try to exploit this early move advantage right here. And then risks. What are some of the key risks? It's saying across the different scenarios. And I think it came up with 4 scenarios, right? Yeah. I used to have it come up with, remember I said 3x3, which was 9 scenarios. So here are some key risks. Here are some key warning indicators, right? Keep an eye out. Shifts in patent filings and R&D investments in AI. AI, you're not going to believe this. I can go to any webpage right now, and I have a special semantic language AI application that I say, hey, I want you to make a website that looks just like this. I want to have Stripe integrated on it. I want to have email, and I want contact information. It creates the website just like that, right? And it can go live just like that. Capability and capacity gaps, right? We have to look at capability and capacity. Capability is understanding how can we really compete in this marketplace, and the capacity. Is there going to be a constraint on resources? Just think about the effect that DeepSeek ChatGPT Pro is having on the coding industry. I know people that are coders that are writing iOS apps just by putting semantic language and it runs. They don't have to be a coder. It's fixing their code. It's making code faster for them, right? So here are some other adaptive strategies to look at. So again, we're doing this scenario planning. It's coming up. It came up with 4 scenarios. It says no regret moves, regardless of what scenario plays out. Right? Don't let this stall you. Don't go into paralysis. Here are some no regret moves for you to consider. Here are some options for investments, right? And then here are some really interesting things that you need to do, scenario specific triggers that you need to keep an eye out for to understand. Now here, of course, monitoring protocol. How are we going to go up and set up our monitoring systems? And as in any ChatGPT, we can go out there and ask it more questions. So if I take all this document, how big is this document here? Let me see. Another 6 pages, right? So we're at 56 pages. We've yet to do the blue ocean strategy, right? Which is a lot of people's favorite strategies. I don't think people really understand it that well, but I think you get a better picture for what it is now that we've done all this legwork. Now we're going to be able to identify potentially untapped markets or niches or places where we can compete. We're going to cover that in another video. We're going to do the Delta model, right? The Delta model was a great strategic framework where we're talking about, are we going to compete on innovative products, or are we going to compete on cost, or are we going to compete and try to somehow get system lock-in, right, where people are locked into our system. So for instance, I'll admit it, I'm locked into Apple. iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, MacBook, right? I'm totally locked into there. I'm the classic customer SAP that you might find out there. So you can see now how by doing this strategy, this let's see, I keep saying, I don't want to sound, you can see how doing a more robust strategic assessment, it's gotten easier. It's gotten much better. You can train it for your data. We can use all this information that we've gathered to better inform our strategic planning process. Most people, and I can tell you, I've been there 1,000 times, most people will say, okay, what are we going to do next year? We're going to grow 10%. We're going to do this. We're going to introduce one new product, right? Without having understood that marketplace, right? I've seen a customer where we did this type of assessment for them. It took a little more time because AI wasn't quite as robust. And they had there's like no way, we cannot compete. We can't compete in the future in this market space. And I said, okay, well, what's your skills line up to, right? And they were able to successfully pivot out of a business that they've been in, that they knew they couldn't compete in any longer, into a newer business that their strengths and that was untapped. So remember, up to this point now, we have only focused on the external assessment. I'm not going to hone in on the internal assessment. To me, when you're talking about strategy, it's mostly about understanding the external environment and how we're going to compete in that marketplace going forward. Understanding the financials, what is our cash conversion cycle look like? Where do we have opportunities? What are our financial statements, our cash flow, our working capital? All that, yeah, that's all easy peasy stuff, right? And fairly standard. I think this is where you're going to get your differentiation opportunities, right? Because let's face it, if we're creating a strategy, one of the biggest failures of strategies that never gets followed, never gets really implemented, nor does it get funded, right? So this might help fund and ensure that we're putting our money in the right space. So if we're in this all-in-one digital marketing platform space and we're not trying to figure out how to get AI to build funnels better, to create personalization for us, if we're not looking at automation opportunities, as from all the data that we've seen so far, you're going to be really, really behind the eight ball. It's going to be almost like using an old version of Windows versus a new version of Windows, or not using ChatGPT at all, right? You're going old school with this. So there's going to be an advantage to that. Any questions, comments, concerns? Remember, I can only see a handful of the questions here in the chat window, all except Facebook and LinkedIn destinations. So I can't see if you're out there, but contact me through LinkedIn. My strategy bot's right here. You can give it a run for your money. And scenario planning, this is huge, folks. If you want to become if you already have the elements of being a strategist, where you have the financial statements and stuff like that, you get all that, the operational stuff, right? All that stuff is, fairly basic. If you can master this and understand how to use these tools and skills, this is a really, really interesting time, right? But again, it comes back to being able to write good prompts and understand what the output is you're looking for, and then understanding what are some of the constraints and what are the limitation factors. Remember, I told you I have like a little secret sauce in here that plays stump the chump with ChatGPT. I use all the models, right? For this one here, I'm using ChatGPT. So it forces it to go back and do more iterations. So basically, I've created a simulation in there. Most people won't know how to do that, but that's what's going to give us the leg up in this strategy work, right? So, all right, folks, thank you. I appreciate your dialing in. I hope you like this. Share, like, comment, right? The kids need new shoes, right? I got to have the driveway plowed. So any help would be fantastic. So I will be doing another one on Friday. I will probably do the one that a lot of people have been looking for, because they're that buzzword, the blue ocean strategy. And of course, that blue ocean strategy is going to be fed all this documentation. So it's going to give us a really good insight. So if you're interested in the blue ocean strategy, follow along, because I guarantee you, it comes up with different options that are going to be very, very interesting to leverage. So have a great one, folks. I appreciate it. Like, share, comment.